the host of Aaron's Hour, Aaron Phillips.
Man, I was supposed to say that, but I think I did. I think that was me. I forgot that I did that. So if you guys are confused, yeah, this is Aaron's Hour with Aaron Phillips. But Aaron's not here. Where is he? For all I know, from what I understand, he's out of town on a business trip, but who knows?
He couldn't make bail.
Now that's very, very possible. So Aaron, wherever you're at, if you're not in jail, say hello. Let me know how I'm doing.
He must have got out because he's on he just popped in the chat and says, have a great show.
How did I know he was going to show up? All right. Well, this is Aaron's Hour with Aaron Phillips. I'm George the G-Man Miklos. You might recognize me. You might not. I work with Aaron on the round table. You see us every Thursday afternoon at 4 p.m. Pacific. So I'm here. He asked me to do this. Well, I was going to make it up and say he begged me to do it, but that's not the case. He asked me to do it. I thought, sure, why not? It's been a while since I've actually been in the driver's seat, so to speak. So here we are. We're going to have a fun-filled show. We're going to do everything we can to not make you turn off the channel or change the video or change your computer or throw it out the window. We have a great guest with us today, and we'll get to him shortly. His name is Rick Shipley. He's a local filmmaker. He's a part of the local Las Vegas film community, as I am, and as John Stiles is, our producer. So we'll get to him. But I have a couple things that have been bugging the shit out of me, okay? Only recently, in the last 3 or 4 weeks, we all remember Demar Hamlin, Buffalo Bills player. He got hit in a game about 3 weeks ago, went into cardiac arrest, and died on the football field. Well, thanks to some life-saving measures from the paramedics that were there at the game, that are always on the sideline for stuff like this, they saved his life. He was in the hospital, I don't know, for a week or so. I don't know about fully recovered, but he's recovered enough to have been released from the hospital. And he went back home to Buffalo. He showed up for a game last week. He showed up for the divisional round against the Cincinnati Bengals in a raging snowstorm in Buffalo, if you saw that game. Now, you saw him, they had cameras on in the tunnel, and here comes Demar Hamlin, had his hoodie on, had the Buffalo Bills colors on and sweatsuit walking through, and he had people around him. Again, you couldn't see his face, but, you all assume it's Demar Hamlin. He's up, he's feeling pretty good. He's back in the saddle. He was invited to the game. He was up in a suite during the game. Partly through the game, I don't know, halfway through or whatever, the snowing like crazy. The cameraman pans up to the luxury suite where he was at, and you see this figure. He was in there, and you could see through the window with the snow, and he had a heart, he's making a heart out of his hands there, love and support. Thank you so much for helping me through this. We haven't really heard anything from him. There's this nasty rumor going around, controversial conspiracy BS, that he didn't survive, or that he's in a coma in a back room somewhere, and they have a body double now for Demar Hamlin. I think it's hilarious and stupid at the same time. The guy's alive and well. We've seen him on TV. I'll bet it's not actual facial interview with Oprah or whoever. Let him take his time, man. All these people, well, if I'd have been on the news already to show people that maybe he's a private person. Maybe he doesn't want to be on camera talking about his health issues and what happened. We're all doing that for him. So why does he need to do it? He'll come out in his own time. He's not dead. He's not in a room somewhere in a coma. He's alive and well, and he will come out at his own time to thank everyone when he feels like it. Come on, man. He's not dead. Now, I will tell you, it seems like in today's society, we always have to know what's going on with everybody. It seems like we've traded privacy for transparency. It's like you can't be private anymore. It's like we have to air all our stuff out on the internet, Facebook, Instagram. We take photos of every position in the house. I've seen photos of people sitting on the toilet. Oh, I ate tacos last night. Oh, why would you put that stuff on the internet? There's no reason to. Privacy is okay. You don't have to share everything about your life with everybody. And when you don't share something, people think, oh, you're hiding something. No, It's okay to be private, to have your own little, whatever you want to call them, secrets. It's okay to be private and just have those secrets if you don't want to share them with people. It's okay. Again, transparency and truthfulness are great virtues, and they're used when they need to be used. But when you want to be private about certain issues, I'm not going to air all my health issues out on the air. I mean, thank God I don't have any. And speaking of that, thanks to True IQ, I lost 45 pounds, and I use their products, their creams, and that's why I look so good for 85. Just kidding. I'm not 85. Why the hell would I be 85 doing this shit? I should be retired in the Bahamas. But that's what I'm trying to say, is that you don't have to air out all your problems. Okay? You know, if you're sick or you got an A and we all like to put our best stuff on the internet. Like when I go to some of these sites, I know some of this stuff's not all true of these people, what they do for a living. We'd all be living in hog heaven if it was all true on the internet. We're not going to air our bad. We're not going to go all that way to air every stinking thing in our life. I mean, God, there's certain things in my life. I'm glad there wasn't social media in the 80s. Oh my God, I'd be off the air already. And would have been on the air for 3 minutes? I'd be gone already. So, social media can be a hindrance in life and society and all that kind of stuff. Use it wisely. Again, the conspiracy theories about Demar Hamlin being dead or in a coma somewhere, not having a body double, humorous to a point. But come on, guys, let's leave that stuff alone, all right? All right, another thing I was going to talk about real quickly. Again, it's been in the news recently, and we talked about it on the roundtable the other night. Alec Baldwin with the problem. Since we're going to be talking about movies anyway in the independent film community here, why not talk about Alec Baldwin, who is shooting an independent film? This is not a major film. He's producing it, and they're filming this movie in New Mexico. As far as I know, they're going to continue filming it and finish it, no matter what happens here in the end. But they're going after Alec Baldwin now. He was charged with involuntary manslaughter. Now, again, we all have mixed feelings on the issue about having live rounds on a movie set. First of all, I don't remember how those live rounds got on the movie set, but part of the deal was these prop handlers and guys on the movie set during breaks were taking these guns that were used in the movie and going out and shooting beer cans and Coke cans during break. That's crazy. Now, again, Alec Baldwin's the producer of this film. He should have been more responsible. And from what I understand, they had a gun safety class for this film. He didn't show up for it. Who do you think you are, man? I've never liked Alec Baldwin. I think he's a great actor, but he's a shitty human being. We've all seen it throughout the years. Why wouldn't you go to this gun training? You thought you were that big that you didn't have to? And again, the prop master on this film was a young female, 24 years old. Her father had been a famous stunt guy and prop guy in Hollywood. So she got a job that she was ill prepared to do. And now she's also being charged. It's not just Alec Baldwin. And they were also tossing around charges for a couple of other people on the set. But I don't know how that, in detail, they went with that. But will Alec Baldwin serve time for this? It's going to be awful hard to prove the total negligence. I know that there was no intent to kill this woman. It was a tragic accident and it was negligent, that's for sure. But who's going to serve time, if anyone? Will it be the prop girl who's less famous and less experienced? From what I understand, she was rattled to the bone about all this, and everybody on that set was. Again, Alec Baldwin. I don't know how he's going to get through this. He vows to fight it, which is, I guess you're going to, if you get charged with something, you're going to fight it. I don't know if he's going to be charged or serve time for this. I don't know if he'll be found guilty of it or not. How's that going to change the movie business? We're going to talk about that too, about how gun safety and firearms and having weapons on a movie set, especially here locally, in Las Vegas, with a lot of up and coming, films that are being filmed here. Supposedly we're supposed to be the next Hollywood 2.0 here, but we'll talk about that with Rick when we come back from our first break. But another quick subject outside of Alec Baldwin. Hopefully, we'll see this through. Probably will take another year. But how about this one? Prince Andrew. You know, he was supposedly the favorite son of Queen Elizabeth. She's now, gone now, passed on last year. He's building up a $12 million war chest to fight the allegations against him that he was in an inappropriate relationship with a young female that was supplied to him by Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. Just leave it alone, Prince Andrew. You've already lost everything. You still got money. You still inherited multiple millions. Why would you put your family through this again? Your older brother, King Charles, has already said you're not going to be allowed to be a part of the royalty part of the family. I mean, you're still a member of the family, but you will never be able to do public or business outings as a prince anymore. Why would you build all this money at 12 million? Hell, you could just live off it the rest of your life. You've got grandkids now. Just live in your countryside villa and enjoy your family. There's no reason for you to keep fighting this, okay? I mean, you're lucky that you're still in the position that you're in, not having to go to jail for all this stuff, supposed stuff. So, leave it alone. Just leave it alone. I mean, I think your mother and your father are probably turning over in their graves as it is. And so you just got to let it go. You already got, what's his face, Harry and Meghan Markle. The royal family has enough problems with them. So Prince Andrew, just go relax, fade away, enjoy the family. You don't have to go out there and do all this stuff. And plus, we're all sick about it anyway. But it's funny. I'm not going to go anywhere with this, but I'll just say the only documents that are really secret in Washington is the the black book associated with Epstein. But that's a whole other show. So, that's just the way it is. If you have any comments concerning any of these topics we've discussed, Prince Andrew, and the Alec Baldwin situation, please feel free to chime in. I'm going to have to use my producer to read some of the comments because I can't see shit anymore. That's the one thing that I have an issue with my eyesight, but we'll be okay. Just keep sending in those comments. I do see that there are some comments coming in, but hope everybody's enjoying it. I'm George the G-Man Miklos, and we will be back with Rick Shipley shortly.
I'm Miss Murder, and I have a question for you. Have you ever explored the beauty in horror? I'm Mercedes M. Yardley, known as Miss Murder. I'm a dark fantasist who wears poisonous flowers in my hair. Among my many titles, I'm the author of the Stabby award-winning book titled Apocalyptic Montessa and Nuclear Lulu, A Tale of Atomic Love, as well as winning the prestigious Bram Stoker Award for my novella, Little Dead Red. My short story, Loving You Darkly, also received a Bram Stoker nomination. Check out all of my titles at www.mercedesmyardley.com, where I remind you that all things are dark.
Are you looking for someone to provide training to your staff? Do you need a motivational speaker about how to handle change? Do you have an upcoming event that needs an MC to handle those responsibilities? Well, look no further than longtime Las Vegas radio personality Aaron Phillips. I am local to Las Vegas and I can blend my talents with any audience. For more information, please visit www.aaronphillipsvoice.com and book me for your next event or training needs.
All right, and we're back from our first break. I'm George the G-Man Miklos. Again, if you just tuned in and you don't see Aaron, we really don't know where he is. He said he was on a business trip, but he did ask me to take his place today, just to co-host, a guest host. So I said, okay, why not? So our guest today is a Las Vegas local indie filmmaker named Rick Shipley. Rick and I have known each other for a while. Rick, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great.
I'm glad you accepted the invitation.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
I asked him, I don't know, less than a week ago. I was frantically thinking, I got to find a guest. His was the only name that popped up, Rick Shipley. So he's here. We have a couple of things we're going to discuss. And Rick, everything good so far in life?
Yeah, actually pretty busy, running into you at the one of those conventions there. That's that's something that's actually taken up a bunch of my time. Doing a lot of lighting, doing camera work, music videos, TV commercials, television shows. Yeah, last year was very, very busy.
I remember, yeah, we just saw each other a couple of weeks ago out there at a major casino convention, and Rick's an expert at all of it. You know, filmmaker, lighting, sound. Whenever I see him out there in the real world, when we actually have to have a day gig, he does a lot of lighting and sound setup and stage setup for a lot of these conventions that have guest speakers and stuff like that. And I'll see him out there occasionally when we do this. But I invited Rick in today. Wanted to talk today about the local Las Vegas indie film community. It's up and rising, up and coming community. I've been here since the late 80s. I always kept hearing about, oh, Hollywood's going to move here. They're going to build a big 75-acre studio out there in Henderson. Been hearing this shit since the late 80s.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, the independent film community has risen. There are a lot of smaller independent production companies that are here, that are located here. And I just recently saw that Mark Wahlberg moved here.
Yes, he did.
And I don't know if you saw that he said that he wanted to make Las Vegas Hollywood 2.0.
Yes, he did.
What are your thoughts?
His plan is actually to do a studio here, a studio backlot, and a lot of facilities, for filming here, which is actually a great thing. But there's also other casino conglomerates that have also jumped in on this as well. So,
and what do you mean by that?
I think it is Caesars. They have like a whole production.
Oh, their own
now.
production. Okay.
So, yes, they can do videos for their in-house sort of things, but, it's also a working mini production studio as well. So that's kind of a fun little thing. Plus, there's also, warehouse studios that pop up every once in a while. Some of them last, some of them don't. Some last a year or two. Some do stick around. But
you mentioned the casinos. Do you think these casinos? I mean, they have the money, obviously, and they film a lot of the shows that they have on their properties and stuff. Do you think they're going to go into independent filmmaking? I mean, filming their own stuff? I mean, they might be doing it already.
Well, commercial-wise, and doing little promos that flash on the TVs inside the casino. Yeah. They'll eventually move into just doing all of that in-house. Right now, they kind of do subcontract. They'll bring in production companies such as Levy Production Group to say do something for a Mandalay Bay event or something like that, but as far as doing internal commercials and promos, things like that, chances are most of the bigger casinos will actually be doing their own in-house in probably just a couple of years, because everybody, like I said, is kind of coming up with their own little facility now.
Well, it's like you mentioned, it's amazing today's technology.
Yeah.
I mean, we're using these wireless mics and this lighting, and everything's getting smaller. It's not these big, although I guess Hollywood still uses those $500,000 cameras where the guys are sitting in them, rolling around doing I've seen CES and seen those big, when Sony is there and all Panasonic and all there's big giant cameras. They go, well, what the hell? Because now you can film a full-length feature film on a damn, camera or a cell phone even.
Yeah. So
I have seen
people do
Why
that.
is Hollywood not? I mean, it would make sense. I mean, first of all, when logistic-wise, when you're shipping cameras to another state or another location, you wouldn't have to be those big, giant cameras. What's the difference now that cell phones are 4K and all that kind of stuff?
Well, see, that's also the thing, too, that, now that technology's become more available, you can actually pop up in another city, and chances are you can rent the stuff that you need right there in that state. So really shipping a lot of your stuff out there to another state, you really don't need to do that as much nowadays. And, the weight of LEDs now, the actual weight of the cameras now, it's a lot less than it was, nowadays. Well, if you can think back in the 80s, a standard VHS camera is about that long. Nowadays, you got a standard cameras about this long.
That's crazy.
So yeah, it's changed, and it's changed for the better. It's actually opened up a lot of things for people to be creative, especially if they want to get into filmmaking. That's when I was coming up, there really was 8mm and there was 16mm and there was VHS. That was kind of it.
Right.
And back then, you know, being a kid, that was just really expensive. You know, nowadays, you know, when a kid can actually has a phone and they're able to make little stories themselves, I think that's great. You know,
Well, it's like the advent of YouTube.
yeah.
You see kids on there. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
they're using their cell phones. They have their little. I have a little setup now and all that kind of stuff. But these kids are being real creative. They're doing these videos. They're getting sponsors.
Mhm.
They're making more money than I am. I mean, they're making, you know, you've seen stories, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year. He's 10 years old and got his own line of toys out there and whatever. It's amazing that the door is open to anybody now. And I don't know how Hollywood feels about that now, because the independent film community is thriving, not just in Las Vegas, but everywhere. Denver, Seattle, you know, places that you wouldn't think about. Hell, Atlanta, Georgia now has become a hot spot now for videos and movies and stuff. So now there's more openings and more opportunities for smaller independent filmmakers. And Hollywood's got to be concerned about it.
Well, see, I think in a way it really doesn't matter, because they'll continue to put out, you know, things that the normal filmmaker or the independent filmmaker can't do. You know, I mean, there's, you know, attempts at people trying to do superhero movies with no budget,
Right.
you know, which some of them are very entertaining, you know, but they don't look like, you know, any of the Marvel movies,
Right.
you know, because they just don't have,
They don't have
the
$100 million.
people and the money in the back and
Right.
all these things that, you know, come along with wanting to do something that grandiose. But, you know, like I say, in the same respect, I've seen some really creative things, you know, fans just deciding that, you know, they want to make a Spider-Man movie or a Star Trek show or something like that. They can pick up a camera and do it. And it's not as complicated as it was doing back in the 70s, 80s, 90s. You know, really, I was thinking about that as well. Really, a lot of independent films, things like that, they really didn't take off until somewhere in the 90s, where, you know, Robert Rodriguez and Kevin Smith, you know, suddenly made people realize that, hey, wait a second, independent film, maybe we should check this stuff out. This is kind of,
Well, like
you
the
know,
Blair Witch
interesting.
Project, the first
Another
one.
one, yeah.
Yeah,
You
that
know,
kind of thing.
and that's the thing, you know, I mean, it does give people opportunities to try things out. And after that time, you know, before that time, there was really, you know, to go to film school, you had to go to New York or LA.
Spend
really-
$10,000, $20,000 for a year course or whatever it was.
And
Yeah.
now you can go to any community college and get film courses, you know, and that's great because, you know, now it's actually opened it all up, you know, for people that want to do it.
You can go to YouTube for classes. Oh my God.
Yeah,
You just type in lighting for on a budget or whatever.
exactly.
And then boom, they show you lighting stuff that you have in your own home that you can use, or maybe somewhere where you can go get a cheap light or something to make things better.
Mhm.
And when I hear all these stories of guys making these full-length feature films on a shoestring budget, I mean, I was in a film called One Long Day. It was filmed 15 years ago.
Oh, yeah,
And
good movie.
yeah, it was. And the director thrived on the advertising that he only spent $3,000 on this movie. So that would tell you I didn't make anything. But the movie was awesome.
Yeah.
And that's a whole nother episode.
I actually like that because, you know, there were limitations that come along with a low budget or no budget feature. And the funny part is instead of actually making those limitations, it ended up becoming something that was part of the comedy in it.
Right.
And it actually made the movie even better because it leaned into the comedy aspect of it. And
Right.
I like that. You know, a very funny action movie.
It was. And I actually they used some animation in some of it, kind of like a weird, and you and I had discussed this, and we'll speak on this. We're working on a project now. It's been, you know how when we're working on something right now, it could take years, it could take months, it could be done in days. But yeah, we've always collaborated over the years on certain things. I had had the cooking show, and now we've got this little vampire tale that we'll talk about when we come back from the next break. But yeah, independent filming is again, the ability to do it at home and have this equipment at home and be able to do your own thing. In Hollywood, I don't know if they're concerned about it. They probably aren't, because I mean, even though movie theaters are closing, I just saw today here in Las Vegas that a movie theater chain is closing.
Yeah.
But now you've got all these movie theaters, they are these Paramount, Sony, Fox, they all have the Apple Plus, all the streaming internet stuff now.
Right.
Paramount Plus, Apple TV, Hulu, Vuvu, Netflix. They've got all these avenues now, even for independent filmmakers to get their stuff on.
Absolutely, yeah.
And Netflix, for crying out loud, they're making their own stuff.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, I don't know if Hollywood. I guess Hollywood will always find a way to adapt.
Oh yeah,
But movie theaters seem to be the enjoyment and the nostalgia of that. It's going away, like drive-ins did.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's always going to be there, you know. I mean, and honestly, there is one drive-in left here in Vegas that actually does an okay business. My daughter actually worked there for a little while.
Is that the one that's still what was on?
Yeah, right off of Rancho.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
that's been there forever, hasn't it? Yeah.
It's I think 5 screens there. Yeah, but you know, it is one of the only ones left.
And you still sneak in and hide in the trunk like you did in the 70s. We used to hide in the trunk,
I don't think
3 or 4 of us.
You have to. I mean, they're actually pretty cool at that drive.
Even now, they just
kind of like.
You know, pay by car, it would be 20 people in there. You pay one admission. You all climb out of the trunk, go to all your friends that were parked there in the park in the movie.
Well, people always go for that theater experience anyway.
Well, we talked about that the other day. I get to, I don't know if I'm a member of the Screen Actors Guild, so I get to vote on the Screen Actors Guild Awards, which are coming up in about a month.
Mm-hmm.
I just started getting a couple films in the mail, and now they do all the streaming. You watch it online now, so I have a pin where I can, put that in. But yeah, they're allowing us to vote and watch these films. And some of these people were telling me that on occasion, like the Top Gun Maverick, it took 33 years for the sequel, but movies like that, you have to see in a theater.
Yeah.
You have to. It's just the big screen, the bombs exploding and the jets flying across the sky and all that stuff. Certain films you have to see in a theater.
Yeah, I just went and saw the second Avatar movie, and had to go see it in the theater in 3D, just because, you just want to really experience that.
So how was it?
I thought it was a really well-crafted movie, really good movie. It's, it kind of makes you want to see where they go with the next 2 movies, because we already know there's 2 other movies lined up.
Now, they said, James Cameron, they said the movie cost, I don't know, $250 million, the most expensive movie ever made, that they said it would have to finish in the top 5 of all time to make their money back. You think it's going to do that? I mean, that's $250 million to see Avatar 2 come in as a loss.
Well,
on the business side would be, although they'd be able to put it on Hulu and Vudu and Netflix. And
think about this. It's not really a loss because, think about this. James Cameron actually bankrupted, I think, 2 movie companies. I think he bankrupted Carlico on Terminator 2 and then bankrupted another company with Titanic. But think about this. These movies still are making, money today. People still buy the DVDs. They still
probably
rent streaming, things like that, so they're still putting money into these films because of the simple fact that these are well-crafted movies.
Right.
And James Cameron knows how to make well-crafted movies, But the thing is, the upfront cost, I think, is the thing that really kind of bankrupts everybody on this.
Right.
They're waiting for that long-term return.
Right.
But they're not really thinking of it as a long-term thing. They want to get that money back as soon as they can, which can be a problem for some companies.
Now, I don't remember, is Sigourney Weaver in the second one?
Yeah.
Because, she was one of the stars of the first one.
There is like a scene where you see her, I think, in the movie, but she's actually one of the characters. Well, it's kind of weird because it's like a clone daughter sort of character. You have to see it.
Now, some of these stars, they work in their contract that they'll forego an upfront salary for, 10 points at the end. Let's say they're hoping to make 20, 30, 40 million on the back end. I don't know how that was a trend for a while in Hollywood. I don't know if that's the same way now, because a lot of these movies now are not made with major stars anymore. They're kind of, the tier of stardom has kind of come down a little bit.
Well, you got to think about it too. The cycles of Hollywood stars, we're just actually waiting for the new batch of, who's going to be the one now. But, with people like Sigourney Weaver, it gave her the opportunity in the second movie to actually be a teenager.
Wow.
So it's kind of a neat thing as an actor to be able to okay, you know what, since I'm not really that character, and plus since we're doing CGI, let me, really kind of play with something a little different. And that was what they ended up playing with. And it was really neat the way they kind of still fit her into the story.
Cool. Well, listen, we got to go to break. Don't want to piss off our sponsors. We're going to go take a quick break. We'll come back and we're going to talk about the independent film industry, especially here in Las Vegas. We'll be right back.
Hey everybody, I am Aaron Phillips. You are?
I'm Governor Val Brown Klingelhofer.
And we host what kind of show?
We host the most fabulous show on this network you've ever seen. It's all about Kiwanis and what's going on in our different cities.
And Kiwanis Connects is the title, and you can watch us every Friday morning, 9 to 10 a.m. Pacific time, right on Facebook or WWDBTV. Say goodbye.
Bye, everybody. Aloha.
Anxiety, depression, PTSD, ADHD, pain, inflammation, dealing with mental or physical health issues, or know someone who is? Relax, refresh, recover, revive. Natural health alternatives using hemp-derived CBD and other cannabinoids found in hemp are increasingly becoming more effective in managing various symptoms that affect your body, state of mind, and daily life. Planet Harvest Health's mission is to help those looking for natural, new, and better solutions for a healthier way of life, specializing in small batch, handcrafted alternatives, providing higher quality and a cost-effective product. Go to planetharvesthealth.com for more information and education on how we can help you.
All right, we're back. Had to get a sip of water. Rick, how you doing? Everything good?
Yeah.
It's working out pretty good. I feel pretty good about doing this. We were talking about movies before we came back, about Sigourney Weaver in particular with the new Avatar film. We had started to discuss independent filmmaking. That's where it was going to, where movie theaters are going down, out of style now, this kind of thing. They'll never go away, but they're not as popular as they once were. But now independent filmmakers can make films. They can go, get stuff put on the air.
Yeah.
And in particular, here in Las Vegas, the independent film community has really grown in the last, I would say, 10 years at least, 5 even. There's this thing now with YouTube and the advent of the internet where you can go on Indiegogo, Kickstarter. There's a couple other places where you can raise money for projects, crowdfunding for projects. It doesn't have to necessarily be film, but a lot of independent filmmakers have gone this route. And they're raising mid six figures for their films. And cool, that's cool for them. That's a great outlet for them to raise some money.
Absolutely.
And
if you can do it, yeah.
The definition of producer is the guy that comes up with, or woman that comes up with the money for the film.
True. Very true.
The part for me, being an actor, the part for me that's starting to sway a little, again, there's nothing illegal about any of this. It's just, is it right, kind of? They're going that route now with actors. If you want a part in our film, donate some money to our film. And they have perks. Starting $25, you get a coffee mug with the name of the film on it, or $50, you get your name seen on the credit at the end of the film, whatever it is, all the way up to $100,000. But it seems to be the range where if you want a part in a film as an actor and you want a scene with a few lines, you have to pay $1, $2, $3 to support this film. And that's okay if you want to do it, I guess. Yeah. But where does it end really with the actor? How many spots can you give away for these films? Because you do have some stars. Most of these films that get stars that we know have been stars, still a star. Once you're a star, you're always a star.
Right.
But there's levels. If you're not around for a while, then you tend to see some of these actors, Eric Roberts, Robert Lasardo, a lot of these guys, Lorenzo Lamas, Tara Reid, they've done a lot of independent films here locally.
Right.
And I don't know what their pay is, but it's certainly not millions of dollars in these independent routes. But actors having to pay in film, that's the bottom line. What is your thoughts on an actor having to donate $2 or $3 grand to get a speaking part in a movie?
Well, I it's becoming more prevalent nowadays, with the internet, that you can actually find this stuff, and people are a little bit more open about it nowadays, but it's been happening for a very long time. Just thinking about it, if you've ever seen Ed Wood,
right?
They're trying to raise money for Bride of the Monster in the movie, and how they do that is they actually get this guy who's, I think he was some sort of beef guy.
And that was a mob guy?
I don't know. He wanted his son in on it or something like that. So he made him the lead actor.
And we're talking 60, 70 years ago.
Yeah.
Ed Wood.
This is, back in the days of black and white movies.
So it's been around that long, pay to play,
it has
so to speak.
But, it, like I say, it's kind of one of those things to where it wasn't really out there like that. Nowadays, with things like Indiegogo or GoFundMe, things like that, you can actually break it down to say, okay, well, if you donate $20, you get a copy of the movie. You donate $50, you get a poster along with that.
Right.
But blatantly putting it out there that, hey, if you donate $2,000, you can have a speaking part in my film. That kind of puts it in the realm of,
it's not even about talent anymore.
Exactly. I mean, there would be something to be said that, if this person does have talent, that's great.
And it has some money.
However,
most actors are broke.
Exactly.
And
what
then you might have
has $2,000 to throw in a role, And
then you have somebody out there that's never acted before but that wants to be in a movie and has the money, and then they're horrible. I've heard those horror stories, and I've heard other stories where they came out fine. Yeah. And a lot of these independent filmmakers have gone towards that horror genre because it's cheaper to film.
Well, that's the thing about
horror. People
like
scary movies and horror.
The horror genre doesn't really rely on, you don't have to have a big name star in it. We know that the plot is going to be basic and simple. It's probably not going to involve more than 5 or 6 people.
Right.
So that's the reason why a lot of people will go the horror route, is because normally they take place in very few locations, have a very small crew or a very small cast, so you can kind of, do one of these fairly easy. But then again, making a movie isn't exactly easy at all.
Right.
None
of it is.
It's a chore, and it is work, but it is fun. And it is creative work. It's, it's an art form.
And when you see the final or the ending product, you're going, wow, that couple of bad days I had, it turned out okay.
Exactly.
That kind of thing. And,
exactly.
I'm kind of excited because you and I have worked on stuff before in the past.
Absolutely.
And we actually, I found this vampire story, a year and a half ago, not that long.
Right.
And the story's old. It's over 100 years old. Presented it to you, and you fell in love with it right away. Pretty much, we were both called to go order the books, get the book online. Mm-hmm. We got the book. The copyright ended in 2020, I think.
Oh, okay.
So just conveniently, so it ended in 2021 actually, because the story was written in 21. The movie came out in 1921. So yeah, it was a 75-year copyright. It ended just in the last 3-4 years, and now we have.
I don't even know if there's any. Well, I don't think. When I was checking into it, there wasn't any existing copies. There's a couple of photographs of.
There's
scenes,
no copies of the film. Correct.
There was no copies of the movie around anymore. But that actually opens up an interesting thing as well, because when I read the book, I don't know exactly how much of that was actually in that movie that they had done before.
Right.
But it looks very interesting. Is it? Well. Not your typical vampire story.
Right. I was just going to mention it's a vampire story, and it's the first time that Dracula, the name Dracula, the character Dracula, was ever seen on the silver screen ever. This was a silent film in 1921. Supposedly no copies exist. Even the Hungarian Foreign Film Exchange or whatever they have, they say they have a copy, but if they did, I think it would have been out already and they would have tried to make some money off it. Or I would have think so. Now, 80% of silent films all over the world have been lost through time or fire or, you know, they had that big fire in California 20, 30 years ago that burned everything and they lost all of it. But you and I have looked at the story, we've read it, and we're thinking about doing a film.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about that, and it's a horror movie, and it's going to be a different type of, well, like Rick said, the story is not your typical Bram Stoker version. This is a totally original story.
It's different. It's, you know, that's the thing that actually I thought was kind of wild about it was that it's instead of Dracula being the main character, you're kind of following a girl through this whole story.
Correct.
And her plight. You know, Dracula is like a thing in here, but you don't know whether or not this guy's really Dracula or not.
Right. That's the cool part of it. Like you said, Dracula's not the star.
He claims to be.
He's a character in the story.
Exactly.
Yes, and he claims to be. We won't go into any more detail, but Rick and I are working on it. You know, we'll see. I have another guy out there too. Hey, Rennie, how are you? Hopefully you're out there listening, but he's looking at the book, read the book, and writing a screenplay, helping us out with it. Right. And the genius that Rick is mentioned, you know, the story takes place 100 years ago before color. So the book was written, you know, with a black and white mindset. Mm-hmm. And I think the goal for us is to do two versions of the film, do it in black and white and another version in color. And that's all we're going to say. But I'm excited about it. And I think it's going to be awesome. And Rick, most likely, he'll probably have his hands all over and everything, but mainly as a DP and a director, that's his forte, I believe. Yeah. Is the best. That's what he likes, director of photography. He likes looking through that lens and getting the shots. And in fact, we worked on a movie called Bleach about 7 years ago. And it finally came out, like a couple of months ago. Yeah. It came out online, Apple TV, or you haven't? I did. I did as a cast member. I went and I did pay to see the movie. I do own it, but it's on the internet, which is kind of weird. I can't touch it or feel it. It's not a DVD that I can feel. It's on the internet, and I'm always scared. Oh my God, I'm going to lose it. But I paid to own it. I watched it. I know I shot a couple of scenes. One did make it. And you're the one who shot it. Nice.
Well, I was one of the 3 people that actually shot that film. I came on the beginning, and then it was Miklos, and then there was somebody else that came on the latter half of the filming that ended up helping with pickup shots and other things like that. You know, so it was a lot of years.
Well, that's the thing again, independent filmmaking.
Sometimes they take years to actually make.
This movie had all kinds of issues. It ran out of money, a lot of infighting or disagreements with certain members of the production team. Stuff like that happens. Yeah. And again, that's independent filmmaking. You know, if you don't have the millions of dollars to finish it, it can take up to 7 years. And it did. I shot my scenes in May of 2015 for this film. So it can, again, that's probably maybe the dark side or the one of the disadvantages of being part of the independent film community, because it takes so long. You run out of money. Sometimes actors go off and do their own thing, and you can't get them back, and you have to reshoot a scene that you were hoping they were in, all that kind of stuff. But it did come out. Mm-hmm. It's a horror movie. Yeah. Lots of color, lots of colorful costumes. The costuming were great. Some of you would recognize some of the names. Lorenzo Lamas. Who else was Eric Roberts? Tara Reid.
Yeah, Tara Reid was in it. Yeah.
And again, it was a fun movie to be on. But sometimes, again, it can take long like that. Yeah. When that stuff happens, you know, it's just.
There was one. It's called Haunting at Death Valley Junction. To actually get where it is now, it took a lot of years. But it's kind of neat, you know. It gave us a really cool insight when things sometimes go not the way you want to.
Right. Well, that's a film set for you.
Exactly.
Some days you'll wake up to shoot on a sunny day and all of a sudden it starts raining. Or I've had where I've been on a movie set and great shot, awesome, let's replay it. Oh, I forgot to take the lens off the camera. So the best shot in the world was covered up with a lens cap. So little stuff like that happens. That's part of the independent film community. I know normally in Hollywood, they like to have a script, a page a day, 90 days to write a full-length feature film, which is 90 minutes, minute a page, 90 pages. Of course, there's always rewrites. Everybody wants to get their paw on it and change this, change that. So you have to have be strong-willed.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes, especially as a screenwriter, you're going to go, well, wait a second, the character, I don't want you to change that. Well, if you don't, then we're not going to, so now sometimes you have to give in a little, give and take. That's what it is. There's never been a script written from start to finish the first time that, oh, you're brilliant, let's do it.
Yeah.
There's always had rewrites.
Exactly.
It's Good Will Hunting, good example. Ben Affleck and Matt Damon wrote this film. They were nobodies.
Yeah.
Struggling in Hollywood like the rest of us, doing extra parts, this kind of crap. And that you only have a certain amount of time in Hollywood to sell a screenplay.
True.
And when that time was running out, and they were saying, get out. All of a sudden, Robin Williams read the script. And we all know what happened. Matt and Ben won an Oscar for it. So, all righty, we got one more second. Man, this hour goes by so quick.
Right.
I just want to thank Rick, first of all, for being here. We got one more segment. We'll be right back.
I'm Matt. I'm Chief.
And I'm Aaron, and together we are
Thoughts Count Anywhere. Join us every Saturday from 9 to 11 a.m. Pacific Time.
Right here on WWDBTV Network and all the shows that are available for you to watch. And why is that?
Because the Chief says so.
I'm Miss Murder, and I have a question for you. Have you ever explored the beauty in horror? I'm Mercedes M. Yardley, known as Miss Murder. I'm a dark fantasist who wears poisonous flowers in my hair. Among my many titles, I'm the author of the Stabby award-winning book titled Apocalyptic Montessa and Nuclear Lulu, A Tale of Atomic Love, as well as winning the prestigious Bram Stoker Award for my novella, Little Dead Red. My short story, Loving You Darkly, also received a Bram Stoker nomination. Check out all of my titles at www.mercedesmyardley.com, where I remind you that all things are dark, darling.
1-0, and we're back. Man, this hour goes by quick.
Right.
We got a last segment here. We've got about 10, 15 minutes. Any lasting thoughts about independent filmmaking in Vegas? I know that it's up and coming. I hope Mark Wahlberg's able to do what he says he's going to do. Any thoughts that you want to bring in that we haven't talked about with independent filmmaking?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, well, see, that's the thing for me. I started out in the independent film world, wanting to act and write, things like that. I quickly moved behind the camera and started shooting a lot. The lighting, grip and electric thing really it's only been within the past 15 years. I've really known what I'm doing with that. But I thought it would be great to learn it, as I'm, doing my camera work. But, I've noticed that really when it comes down to is, especially in indie world of filmmaking, it's always good to have people in there that have a good idea of what they want to do, what they want to show, what they want to bring to the table, and let them do their thing, There's plenty of one-man bands out there that say, hey, I wrote, shot, directed it, and even started it myself. That's great. But, if you would have had people in every aspect of those roles, chances are it would have been better than what you came up with.
I agree with that. Now, I will tell you that being well-rounded in Hollywood's good. I'm not that well-rounded. I'm an actor. That's what I always wanted to be. Yeah, I have an interest in when I'm on movie sets in Hollywood and they set up lights. I'm going, oh, that's interesting. Why are they doing that?
Right.
The curiosity is there, but not enough to actually learn all of it. I'm an actor and I'm more of a writer. I've always thought about directing my own thing. I don't know. I haven't really thought about it, over the years here and there, screenplays, ideas in my head, but I'm mainly an actor and a writer. So if we start doing this project together, which I've started, I'm going to have to learn a little bit about everything. like you said, it's okay not to know everything, especially in an independent. You can make mistakes and fix them and keep moving on. So
Absolutely, yeah.
that's the goal for me, is to learn this business and even maybe direct part of this film too. Just my idea or whatever, the collaboration itself is rewarding.
Exactly.
You can't do it by yourself. You can't.
Yeah. Well, it technically could be, but honestly, if you really want something good, it's always best to bring in, people that specialize in certain things. I know that, let's just say, on this particular project, I'm really set up to shoot it. Really, it's going to take me time every time if I got to stop and set up lighting, for each particular scene. So it just makes sense to bring in a grip and, a gaffer in order to be able to take care of all those lighting issues, which, once you've kind of got a little bit more, well, not more, but once you've gotten well-rounded in the film, how the film industry works, you realize, oh, okay, that's why, on these large budget movies, they got 5 minutes of credits at the end of the movie, because there was a lot of people that put in to get that finished product to look as good as it does.
Well, you mentioned that 5 minutes of credits. I remember my first credit in a major Hollywood film was Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas with Johnny Depp, Benicio del Toro, Cameron Diaz was in it, Katherine Hellman, who played on Who's the Boss, Mark Harmon. A lot of people were in this film and had, bit parts in it. And I actually got a credit for being the camera double for Benicio del Toro, the Las Vegas camera double, because he had one in L.A. when they filmed.
Okay.
So they promised me, yeah, George, you're going to get the credit in this film, man. You're going to get it. You're going to get it. And this is right when Denise and I started going out together. And Denise is my wife. We've been together 25 years now. Our first big date was going to see Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, the movie. I'm thinking, oh God, I'm taking her to this movie, because I read the book in high school, Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll, Hunter Thompson. I mean, my God, and she didn't know who Hunter Thompson was, but take her to this movie, and the movie was great. And I showed her where my was, or where my back, because I did some stunt car driving stuff too.
Oh, right on.
And so the movie ends. The theater starts to fill out. People start to leave. And they, the lights stay off for a while. But then after a while, the credits are so. Then after everybody leaves, the lights go on. Denise and I are the only ones left in the theater. And I'm thinking, oh, shit, they promised me, man. They promised me this credit, man. So it keeps rolling. I'm thinking, oh, shit, here comes the cleaning guy to sweep the aisle with the popcorn. We're moving our feet. And I'm thinking the credits are still rolling. And there's, there was a lot of people that worked on this movie.
Oh, yeah.
1,000.
Oh, yeah.
Who knows? And finally, boop, it popped up. I was sweating. She said my hands were all clammy. And I just met this woman. Here I'm all clammy and shit. And she's thinking, this guy. Finally, the credit came. And I jumped up in the movie theater like there was 20,000 people in the theater. And we're the only two left in there with the cleaning guy. And he's looking up. He didn't know what the hell was going on. So, but yeah, movies. They have a lot of people that work on these films.
Oh, yeah.
Positions and titles you never even heard of.
Absolutely.
And again, in independent film, the credits are a little less because you don't have the money to hire 10 editors instead of one. Or,
True.
You got background actors. We need 150. And that's where green screen comes in. That was my first exposure to green screen. Green screen was Scorpion King.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
This is 2001. And that was my first exposure in green screen. I'm thinking, well, when you see the rollers of all, and you got the 1,000 people out there, Romans and all that stuff in there. There's like 7 or 8 of us they picked. And we were in front of green screen. We had to hold our hand out left, one right, all these different types of movements. And then they multiplied us. And that's when they made the crowd, and they used a green screen for the desert scene, whatever it was. Really impressed with that. That was another thing. Green screen for me wasn't so sure over the last, you got the last 10 years, green screen technology has gotten way better. like we use it here.
Yeah.
But I don't see when you move around, you see the trails coming off your head, or when you move a body part, you see and there's other internet stations here.
That's the drugs, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that what it is? LSD flashback. I mean, I'm not going to deny it because I lived through that period. That's a whole nother show. But yeah, the technology's gotten so much better.
Yeah.
And some of the backgrounds are so elaborate, and some are cooler than others.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
And I know that even major ESPN, CNN, Fox, all these news stations and sports shows, they use green screens occasionally.
Yeah.
I mean, they're shot in a live studio, but they use green screen on certain segments and that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
So again, that could take away, we discussed this with our little project, that maybe, it's hard to find, scenes of an 1890 insane asylum or castle with the big giant piers like in Bram Stoker. Mm-hmm. It's hard to find stuff around that here in the Western United States. Unless you went to California and maybe shot at the Hearst Mansion, something like that.
Right.
There's a place here in town, that underground, I know there's a house that was built in the 60s. It's underground.
Yeah.
It's off of Flamingo and Spencer, but it's underground. There's a couple of houses on top, but you see all these air conditioning vents on the ground. You go, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
It's an underground house. And they rent the house out, $10,000 a day to film there. And places like that you could use for certain things.
Right.
But that's the thing about the brilliance of green screen, that you can use period pieces are expensive to film.
Absolutely.
But with green screen, you can kind of make it a little easier for you.
I mean, I've seen some really neat stuff. I mean, I've seen some, what do you call it? Really just fans of movies, like Star Trek fans and Star Wars fans and things like that, they want to tell a Star Wars story or Star Trek story, and they're actually able to utilize things like green screen to make it believable enough.
Like you're on the bridge of the Enterprise sitting in the chair, like Captain Kirk. Yeah.
I mean, I seen this one Star Trek when this guy, they just had the green screen set up and a chair or maybe two chairs, and that was it. But when you watch the episodes, they're like interesting. The backgrounds they dropped in there really work. And it really is cool to see that. It allowed somebody to tell another story, even though they're not making any money off of it. It still gives them a chance to be creative and put something out there that really they can say, hey, look, I made this Star Trek episode, and
Right.
I think green screen tech is great. Editing software has gotten much better, but the thing is I like to tell everybody with green screen, it's you got to be careful with your lighting. Lighting's important.
I've heard that from a lot of folks, that lighting is the most important part of using a green screen, that makes it look real or not just totally fake.
Exactly. There's some techniques that,
or cheesy, as they say.
Right. There's some simple techniques like a 3-point light setup that'll help pull you out of a green screen and things like that. But you got to kind of pay attention to what you're doing with that, or else it'll look goofy.
Rick, I want to thank you for showing up
thank
today,
you, George.
Man. Appreciate it. Rick Shipley.
Appreciate it.
He's a local filmmaker. We're going to be working on a couple of projects together. Thanks again to John Stiles and to Aaron Phillips for allowing me to host the co-host show, guest host. Real quickly, the NFL playoffs are tomorrow. I'm just going to throw in my quick pick. I do believe that the Philadelphia Eagles will beat the San Francisco 49ers. I think Brock Purdy is going to run out. He's a rookie. Would love to see him go to the Super Bowl and win it, but I think at Philadelphia in the cold, I think it's going to be over for him. And as far as the AFC Championship game, Mahomes, he's got that high ankle sprain. They say he's been practicing all week. We will see. I'm picking the Philadelphia Eagles and the Cincinnati Bengals for Super Bowl. And again, that's it. Again, thanks, Aaron, for allowing me to be here.
Thank you.
Thanks, John Stiles, to the producer. Thanks, Rick Shipley, for being the guest.
Oh, thank you.
And we will see you guys next Thursday on the Round Table, 4 p.m. And again, thanks again, everybody. Thanks for sticking with me. And you'll see me more often, I promise you. Thanks again.